The stepmom held a small black bottle. She stood in the dark kitchen. A small boy sat with his father. They were eating warm soup. The stepmom smiled. Drop, drop. 2 dark drops fell into the soup. The father drank it. 1 second passed. Then his face changed. He held his chest. The bowl fell. He crashed to the floor. The boy screamed, "Father!" But the stepmom did not move. She looked at the boy. Her eyes were cold. "Your shield is gone," she whispered. Subscribe now. Obi was 10 years old. He lived in a quiet village. Small houses stood near green fields. Goats walked in the yard. Smoke rose from clay kitchens. His father was a strong man. People in the village respected him. He owned land and many goats. But the man loved one thing most: his son. Every morning, Obi ran to the farm with him. They laughed as they walked. "Work hard," his father often said. "A good man must use his hands." Obi always smiled. "I will, father." But inside the same house lived another heart. Cold. Madame Ngozi watched them many times from the window. Her face stayed hard. She did not like the boy. Ngozi had her own son. His name was Chike. Chike was lazy. He did not like work. He liked soft beds and sweet food. Ngozi believed something. If Obi stayed in the house, one day the land would belong to him, not to Chike. That thought burned in her mind, like fire. One afternoon, Obi's father returned from the farm. He looked tired. He sat down on a wooden chair. Ngozi quickly came with food. Warm soup filled the bowl. The smell spread through the room. "Eat," she said softly. The man nodded. Obi sat beside his father. They began to eat. For a moment the house looked peaceful, but Ngozi stood in the doorway, watching. Her eyes were strange. Obi did not notice. He was talking about the goats on the farm. "Father, one goat had 2 small babies today," he said with joy. His father laughed. "Then our farm is growing stronger." They both smiled, but suddenly the father stopped eating. His hand shook. The spoon fell from his fingers. Obi blinked. "Father?" The man touched his chest. His breathing turned rough. The chair moved as his body shook. "Father!" Obi shouted. The bowl fell and soup spread across the floor. The man slid from the chair. He hit the ground hard. Obi dropped to his knees. "Father! Wake up!" But the man could not speak. His eyes slowly closed. The room turned silent. Outside, the wind moved the trees. Obi cried loudly. But behind him, someone stood still. Madame Ngozi. She did not run for help. She did not shout. She only watched. A slow smile appeared on her face. Then she stepped closer. She looked down at the boy. Her voice was low. "Stop crying," she said. Obi looked up with wet eyes. "Help him," he begged. Ngozi leaned near his ear. Her whisper felt cold. "Your shield is gone." Obi did not understand her words. He only cried harder. Soon the village people came. They carried his father outside. Women cried. Men shook their heads. Everyone said the same thing. A sudden sickness. Obi stood alone near the door. His small hands were shaking. The night became long. The next days became darker. The funeral ended. The house felt empty. But something else also changed. Very quickly, Ngozi's soft voice disappeared. Her real face came out. Cold. Sharp. One morning Obi woke up late. Only a little late. But Ngozi stormed into the yard. Her eyes burned with anger. "You lazy boy," she shouted. Before Obi could speak, a stick struck his back. Pain shot through his body. Obi cried out, "I am sorry." But Ngozi did not stop. "This house is not yours," she yelled. Chike stood behind her, watching and smiling. That day, Obi learned a new truth. His father was gone, and in this house, he was no longer a son. He was something else, something much worse, a servant, and the worst days of his life were only beginning. If this story touched your heart, press like and subscribe. Stay with me. Obi's darkest days are still coming. The days after the funeral felt heavy. The house was quiet, but peace did not stay long. Madame Ngozi changed very fast. Before, she spoke soft words. Now her voice was sharp like a knife. "Wake up!" she shouted one morning. Obi opened his eyes. The sky was still dark. He sat up on the hard floor. "Go bring water," Ngozi ordered. Obi looked confused. "Now?" he asked in a weak voice. The stick hit the wall beside him. Yes. Now. Obi quickly stood up. He picked 2 old buckets. The village borehole was far. The path was dusty and long. Cold air touched his skin as he walked. Other children still slept in their beds. Obi walked alone in the dark. When he came back, his arms hurt, but Ngozi was waiting again. Clean the yard, she said. Then feed the goats. Obi nodded quietly. He worked the whole morning. Dust filled his nose. Sweat ran down his face, but nobody thanked him. Inside the house, Chike sat on a soft chair. He ate hot yam and chicken. Oil shined on his fingers. Obi watched from the door. His stomach growled. Ngozi saw him looking. "What are you staring at?" she snapped. Obi quickly looked down. "Nothing," Chike laughed. "Look at the farm boy," he said. Ngozi placed a small bowl on the ground. Inside were cold rice scraps. "Eat that," she said. Obi knelt on the floor. He picked the rice slowly. Some grains were mixed with dust. Still, he ate. It was the only food he had. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. Obi's clothes became old and torn. His hands grew rough. Every day began before sunrise. Every night ended with pain. Sometimes Ngozi beat him with a belt. Sometimes she pulled his ears. "Work faster!" she shouted again and again. Obi never fought back. He only said 2 words, "I am sorry." One evening the sky turned orange. Birds flew over the village. Obi finished feeding the goats. His body felt very tired. He walked inside the house to clean. Ngozi's room was large. The floor was smooth. Obi swept the dust slowly. Then he saw something near the table. A paper, old and folded. Curious, he picked it up. The paper looked important. Words filled the page. Obi could read a little. His father had taught him. He looked closer. His eyes moved across the lines. Suddenly his heart jumped. The paper spoke about land, about the house, about his father, and one name appeared again. Obi. His breath grew fast. The house, the farm, the land, all belonged to him. His father had written it clearly. This was the real will. Obi held the paper with shaking hands. Hope rose inside his chest. Maybe things could change. Maybe someone would listen. Maybe the village chiefs would help him. A small smile touched his face, but that smile did not stay long. A shadow moved behind him. A strong hand grabbed his neck. Obi gasped in fear. The paper fell from his fingers. A cold voice spoke behind his ear. "So, you found it." Obi's heart beat fast. The strong hand held his neck. He could not breathe well. Slowly he turned his head. Madame Ngozi stood behind him. Her eyes were dark and angry. The paper lay on the floor. Ngozi looked down at it. Then she gave a cold laugh. "So, you can read now?" she said. Obi stayed quiet. Fear filled his chest. Ngozi bent down. She picked up the paper. Her eyes moved across the lines. Her smile slowly faded. The paper spoke the truth. The house, the land, the farm, all of it belonged to Obi. Ngozi's face turned hard like stone. Obi spoke in a small voice. "Father wrote it." Ngozi stepped closer. Her shadow covered him. "That paper means nothing," she said. Before Obi could react, she walked to the fire pot. The small fire was still burning. Obi's eyes grew wide. "No!" he cried. But Ngozi did not stop. She held the paper above the flame. The edge began to burn. Black smoke curled into the air. The words slowly disappeared. Obi ran forward. "Please, that is Father's will." Ngozi pushed him hard. He fell onto the floor. The paper turned into ash. The truth was gone. Obi stared at the fire. Tears ran down his face. Ngozi brushed the ash from her hands. "Now nobody will believe you," she said. Obi shook his head. "You are lying," he said softly. Ngozi's eyes flashed. "Oh, I will show you a lie." That night she ran through the village. Her loud cries broke the silence. "Help! Help!" she shouted. "Obi tried to poison me." Doors opened. Lanterns lit the dark paths. Villagers rushed to the square. Soon the chiefs arrived. They sat on wooden chairs. A fire burned in the middle. Obi stood before them. His legs trembled. Ngozi cried loudly beside the chiefs. Tears covered her face. "This boy is evil," she said. "He tried to kill me." The villagers gasped. Obi shook his head. "That is not true," he cried. "I never did that." But Ngozi kept crying. "I found poison near my water," she said. He wants this house. Murmurs spread through the crowd. The chiefs looked serious. One old chief spoke. Boy, what do you say? Obi's voice shook. I did nothing, he said. My father left the house to me. The crowd whispered again. Ngozi quickly shouted, he burned the proof. The chiefs looked at each other. The villagers believed the widow. The chief raised his hand. Silence fell. This village cannot keep danger, he said. Boy, you must leave. Obi felt the world spin. Please, he begged. This is my home. But the chief did not change his mind. You must leave tonight. Ngozi grabbed Obi's arm. Her grip was tight. Come, she said coldly. She dragged him down the dark path. Trees stood tall around them. The village lights grew small. Soon they reached the forest edge. The wind blew through the leaves. Ngozi shoved him forward. Obi fell into the wet mud. Stay here, she said, or die here. Obi looked up with fear. Please, don't leave me. But Ngozi turned away. Her footsteps faded. Obi sat alone in the dark. The forest was silent. Then the bushes moved. Two yellow eyes appeared, watching him from the darkness. If you feel Obi's pain, press like and subscribe. Stay with the story. His fight for life has just begun. The night was very cold. Obi sat in the wet mud. The forest stood dark around him. Wind moved through the tall trees. Leaves whispered above his head. Obi hugged his knees. His body shook with fear. He felt very small, very alone. Then the bushes moved. Two yellow eyes appeared. They glowed in the darkness. Obi stopped breathing. A thin wild dog stepped out. Its ribs showed under its skin. The dog growled low. Obi slowly stood up. His legs trembled. He grabbed a dry stick from the ground. The dog walked closer. Its teeth shined in the moonlight. Obi raised the stick. Go away! He shouted. The dog barked. Obi hit the ground with the stick. Dust jumped into the air. Go! He shouted again. The dog stepped back. It stared at him for a moment. Then it turned. The animal ran into the trees. Obi dropped the stick. His legs felt weak. He sat down again. Tears rolled down his face. I want my father, he whispered. But the forest stayed silent. No one answered him. After a while, Obi stood up. He could not stay there. The forest was too dangerous. He began to walk. The ground was rough. Sharp stones hurt his feet. Branches scratched his arms. But he kept walking, step after step. Slowly the sky became gray. Morning was coming. Birds began to sing. Obi walked out of the forest. A long road stretched ahead. He followed the road. The sun slowly climbed higher. Heat warmed the dusty path. Obi walked for many hours. His throat became dry. His stomach hurt from hunger. Soon he saw a small shop. People stood outside. They were eating bread. The smell made Obi dizzy. He walked closer. Please, he said softly. Can I have some food? The shopman looked at him. His face showed no kindness. You have no money? The man said. Go away. Obi lowered his head. He walked away slowly, but he kept moving. Soon the road grew wide. Big buildings appeared ahead. Cars moved fast. Horns shouted everywhere. Obi had reached a huge city. Lagos. Everything felt loud. Everything moved fast. People rushed past him. Nobody looked at him. Nobody cared. Obi sat beside a wall. He watched people eat. His stomach cried for food. He stood and searched the trash. Soon he found an empty bottle. Then another one. Then another. He carried them in his arms. A recycling man stood near the road. The man gave Obi a few coins. Obi ran to a bread stand. He bought a small piece of bread. It was dry and hard, but to him it tasted good. He ate slowly. For a moment he felt stronger, but the street was not kind. 3 boys watched him. They walked toward him. The tallest boy spoke. This is our place, he said. Obi looked confused. I only want bottles, Obi said. The boy pushed him. Obi fell to the ground. The other boys laughed. They kicked his bottles away. Leave, the tall boy warned. Obi stood slowly. Blood touched his lip. He walked away again. The sun began to fall. The sky turned orange. Obi's legs grew heavy. He had nowhere to sleep, no place to rest. Cars rushed along the busy road. Bright lights flashed. Obi tried to keep walking, but his head felt light. His vision turned blurry. Hunger returned again. He stepped onto the road. Suddenly, bright lights blinded him. A loud horn screamed. Screech! A shiny black car hit him. Obi rolled across the road. His body lay still. People gathered around. The black car stopped. The door slowly opened. A tall, rich man stepped out. He looked at the boy on the road, and Obi's life was about to change forever. Obi felt darkness around him. Everything was quiet. Then a soft sound came. Beep, beep, beep. Obi slowly opened his eyes. Bright white light filled the room. He blinked many times. The ceiling above him looked strange, clean, smooth. Not like the dusty roofs he knew. He tried to move. Pain rushed through his body. A weak cry left his lips. A nurse quickly came to his bed. "Easy," she said softly. "You are safe." Obi looked around. Machines stood near the bed. Clean white walls surrounded him. He had never seen a place like this. "Where am I?" he whispered. "In the hospital," the nurse replied. "You were hit by a car." Obi remembered the bright lights, the loud horn. Then everything went dark again. "Who brought me here?" he asked. The nurse smiled gently. "The man from the car." At that moment the door opened. A tall man walked inside. He wore a neat, dark suit. His hair was gray, but his eyes were kind. The nurse nodded to him. "Chief Ade," she said. Obi looked at the man. The man walked closer. He stood beside the bed. For a moment he studied the boy. "You are awake," the man said calmly. His voice was deep but warm. Obi felt nervous. "I am sorry," Obi said quickly. "I did not see the car." Chief Ade shook his head. "You did nothing wrong," he replied. "My driver was too fast." Obi stayed quiet. The room felt very still. Chief Ade pulled a chair closer. He sat beside the bed. "What is your name?" he asked. "Obi," the boy answered. "Where is your family?" Obi's eyes dropped. Silence filled the room. "I have no family," he said softly. Chief Ade watched him carefully. "No one at all?" Obi shook his head. "My father died," he said. "My stepmother sent me away." The words came slowly, but the pain inside them was deep. Chief Ade leaned back in the chair. For a moment he said nothing. Then he sighed. "This world can be very hard," he said. The nurse adjusted Obi's blanket. "You must rest," she told him. "Your body needs time." The next days passed slowly. Obi stayed in the hospital bed. Doctors checked his injuries. Nurses brought him food. Warm food. More food than he had eaten in months. Each day, Chief Ade visited. Sometimes he brought fruit. Sometimes he brought books. He asked Obi many questions. About the village. About school. About his father. Obi answered honestly. One evening, Chief Ade stood by the window. The city lights shined outside. He looked back at the boy. "Obi," he said quietly. "Yes, sir?" Obi replied. "I have no children," Chief Ade said. "I have no children," Chief Ade said. "My house is big and empty." Obi listened carefully. "I need someone honest," the old man continued. "Someone who is not afraid of hard work." Obi sat up a little. His heart began to beat faster. Chief Ade walked closer to the bed. "I want to help you," he said. "You can stay in my house." Obi's eyes widened. "You mean, live there?" he asked. Chief Ade nodded. "You will go to school," he said. "You will learn many things." Obi could hardly believe it. Hope rose in his chest. "Thank you, sir," he whispered. Chief Ade placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "This is only the beginning," he said. "Your life is about to change. If you believe Obi deserves a better life, press like and subscribe. Stay with the story. His rise is just beginning." 15 years passed. The small boy from the village was gone. Obi was now a man. The city of Lagos shined under the morning sun. Tall glass buildings touched the sky. Cars moved fast along the busy roads. A black car stopped in front of a huge building. The door opened. A tall man stepped out. He wore a clean blue suit. A silver watch shined on his wrist. Dark glasses covered his eyes. This man was Obi. People near the door greeted him with respect. "Good morning, sir," they said. Obi nodded calmly. He walked inside the tall building. Workers moved quickly around him. Some carried papers. Some spoke on phones. Everyone looked busy. The company was large. Very large. Years ago it belonged to Chief Ade. But things had changed. Chief Ade had grown very old. One quiet night he called Obi to his room. The old man lay in bed. His breathing was slow. Obi sat beside him. "Come closer," Chief Ade said. Obi held the old man's hand. You worked hard. Chief Ade said softly. You learned fast. Tears filled Obi's eyes. You gave me a life, Obi said. Chief Ade smiled. You gave me a son. The old man replied. The room became quiet. Then Chief Ade spoke again. This company is yours now. Obi shook his head. No, sir, he said. But the old man squeezed his hand. Yes. Chief Ade said. I trust you. After that night, the old man passed away. The whole city heard the news. Many people came to the funeral, but the company did not fall. Obi stood strong. He worked day and night. He made wise choices. He treated workers with respect. Slowly, the company grew bigger. Soon people spoke his name with respect. Mr. Obi, they said. A smart businessman. Back in the present day, Obi walked into his office. The room was wide and bright. Large windows showed the whole city. Obi removed his glasses. He looked at the busy streets below. For a moment he stayed silent. Memories came back to him. A small village. A dusty yard. His father's warm smile. Then darker memories followed. Madame Nosy. The burning paper. The cold forest. Obi closed his eyes. Those days were far away now, but he never forgot them. A knock came at the door. Come in, Obi said. His manager walked inside. The man carried a thin file. Sir, there is a small matter, he said. Obi sat at his desk. What is it? He asked. The manager opened the file. A village property, he explained. The owners cannot pay their debts. Obi listened quietly. They asked if our company would buy it, the manager said. He placed a photo on the desk. Obi looked down at the picture. His face slowly turned still. The photo showed an old house. The roof looked broken. The yard looked dry. But Obi knew that house. He knew it very well. It was his father's house. His fingers slowly touched the photo. The manager spoke again. The family living there is very poor now, he said. Obi's eyes became cold. Who owns the house? He asked. The manager checked the file. A woman named Ngozi, he replied. And her son, Cheek. The room fell silent. Obi leaned back in his chair. A slow breath left his chest. After many years, fate had brought the past back to his door. Back in the village, life had changed. The big house no longer looked proud. The roof was broken. Walls were cracked. Dry grass filled the yard. The place felt empty and tired. Madame Ngozi sat on a weak wooden chair. Her clothes looked old. Her face had deep lines. She no longer looked strong. Years had not been kind to her. Inside the house, things were worse. The kitchen had little food, just a few dry yam skins. The pots were almost empty. Chike sat near the door. He looked angry. His clothes were dirty. His eyes were red. He had grown into a lazy man, just like before. But now life was harder. Very hard. Years ago, Ngozi had money. She sold goats. She sold parts of the land. She spent the money on Chike. Chike wasted it all. He played games. He made bad bets. He trusted wrong friends. Slowly, the money disappeared. The farm stopped growing. The animals were gone. Debt began to grow. Now the bank wanted the house. That morning, 2 bankmen came. They wore clean shirts. They held important papers. One man looked at Ngozi. You must leave today, he said. Ngozi's hands began to shake. Please, she begged. Give us more time. The man shook his head. You already had time. Chike stood up quickly. You cannot take our house, he shouted. The bankman stayed calm. The house is no longer yours, he replied. Chike kicked a broken chair. Anger burned in his face. Ngozi began to cry. Real tears now, not the fake ones from long ago. Where will we go? She asked. The bankman sighed. He looked at his phone. Then he spoke again. There is one chance, he said. Nosy quickly lifted her head. What chance? She asked. A rich buyer wants the land, the man said. If he agrees, you may stay as workers. Hope flashed in her eyes. Please, she begged. Let me meet him. The bankman nodded slowly. He is coming today. The village slowly gathered around the house. People whispered to each other. Many remembered old stories. Stories about Obi, the boy who was sent away. Some people felt shame, but nobody spoke about it. Far above the village sky, a loud sound appeared. At first, it was small. Then it grew louder. The villagers looked up. A helicopter moved across the sky. Wind pushed dust across the ground. Children pointed with wide eyes. The helicopter circled once. Then it landed near the village square. Moments later, 3 black SUVs drove behind it. Their engines roared loudly. Dust filled the air. The cars stopped near the old house. The doors stayed closed. Everyone watched in silence. Ngozi and Chike stood near the gate. Their clothes looked poor. Their faces showed fear. The bankmen stood beside them. One of them checked his watch. "The buyer is here," he said. The first car door slowly opened. A shiny black shoe touched the dirt. A tall man stepped out. He wore a rich blue suit. Dark glasses covered his eyes. The villagers began to whisper. They had never seen such power. The man walked forward calmly. Dust moved around his shoes. He stopped a few steps from Ngozi. She kept her head low. Her hands trembled. She slowly lifted her eyes. And when she saw the man's face, her body froze. Ngozi stared at the man. Her eyes grew wide. Her mouth slowly opened. For a moment she could not speak. The tall man stood calm before her. Dust moved around his shoes. The villagers whispered behind them. Ngozi looked again. She studied his face. The strong jaw. The sharp eyes. The confident walk. Something felt very familiar. Her heart began to beat fast. Chike stood beside her. He looked confused. "Mother, who is he?" Chike asked. Ngozi did not answer. Her legs felt weak. The man removed his dark glasses. Sunlight touched his face. And in that moment the truth hit her. Her hands began to shake. "No," she whispered. Her voice trembled. "It cannot be." The man looked at her quietly. His face showed no anger. But no kindness either. Only calm power. "Yes," the man said. His voice was deep. "It is me." Ngozi stepped back. Fear filled her eyes. "Obi?" she gasped. The villagers murmured loudly. Some covered their mouths. The boy who was sent away was standing before them. Now he looked strong, rich, powerful. Chika stared at the man. His face turned pale. "You," he said. Obi looked at him. For a moment memories passed through his mind. The beatings, the hunger, the cold nights. But his face stayed calm. Ngozi suddenly fell to her knees. Dust rose around her. "Obi, my son!" she cried. She tried to grab his shoes, but Obi stepped back. His voice turned cold. "Do not call me that," he said. The crowd became silent. Ngozi began to cry harder. "Forgive me," she begged. "I was wrong." Chike also dropped his head. Fear filled his face. "Please help us," Chike said. "We have nothing." Obi looked at the broken house. The cracked walls, the empty yard. Everything had changed, but the memories remained. He turned to the bankmen. "Is this the property?" he asked. "Yes, sir," one man replied. "They could not pay their debt." Obi nodded slowly. He walked toward the old house. His steps were calm. The villagers moved aside. Nobody dared stand in his way. He touched the wooden gate, the same gate he knew as a child. For a moment his eyes softened. Then the feeling passed. He turned back to the bankmen. "I will buy the house," he said. Shock spread through the crowd. Ngozi looked up quickly. Hope filled her face. "Thank you," she cried. But Obi raised his hand. "Do not thank me yet," he said. His voice became firm. "This house now belongs to me." The villagers whispered again. Ngozi's hope slowly faded. Obi looked down at her. His eyes were calm but strong. "You once pushed a small boy out of this home," he said. Ngozi lowered her head. Shame filled her heart. Now fate had turned the circle. The house was his. The land was his. And the woman who once ruled here now waited for his decision. The whole village stood very still. Nobody spoke. Dust moved slowly in the warm air. Ngozi stayed on her knees. Her hands shook. Her head stayed low. Chike stood behind her. Fear filled his eyes. Obi looked at both of them. For a moment he said nothing. The old house stood behind him. Broken, silent. Memories filled his mind. He saw a small boy in the yard, running beside his father, laughing in the sun. Then the memories turned dark. The burning paper, the cold forest, the hungry nights. Obi took a slow breath. He looked at Ngozi again. "You remember the night you sent me away?" he said. Ngozi began to cry. "Yes," she whispered. "I remember." Her voice trembled. "I was blind with greed." Obi's eyes stayed calm. "You told me to die in the dark," he said. Ngozi covered her face. "I was wrong," she cried. "Please forgive me." The villagers watched quietly. Some felt shame. Some felt fear. Chike stepped forward. His voice shook. "We lost everything," he said. "All the money is gone." Obi looked at him. "And whose fault is that?" Obi asked. Chike had no answer. He lowered his head. Obi turned to the bankmen. "Bring their bags outside," he said. The bankmen nodded. They walked into the house. Soon, they returned. Old bags and boxes came out. They placed them near the road. Ngozi gasped. "Please," she cried. "Do not throw us out." She crawled closer to Obi. Dust covered her hands. "Have mercy," she begged. Obi looked down at her. For a moment his face stayed hard. The villagers waited. Nobody moved. Finally, Obi spoke again. "Stand up," he said. Ngozi slowly rose. Her legs trembled. Obi pointed toward the small animal shed. The old building stood behind the house. "You can stay there," he said. Shock moved through the crowd. Ngozi blinked. "You will not send us away?" she asked. Obi shook his head. "I will not push you into the forest," he said. "But you will not live in the house." Chike looked confused. "Then how will we live?" he asked. Obi's voice stayed firm. "You will work," he pointed at the dry land. "The farm will open again." Ngozi listened carefully. "You will clean the animal shed," Obi said. "You will feed the animals. You will grow food. If you work, you will eat." Ngozi nodded quickly. "Yes, we will work." Chike also nodded. Relief filled his face, but Obi was not finished. He looked around the village. Many people watched him. Some looked guilty. Some looked proud. Obi raised his voice. "This land will change," he said. "The farm will grow again. The village will grow too." The people listened closely. "I will build something here," Obi continued. "Something good." The villagers leaned closer. Obi pointed toward the empty land. "A hospital," he said. Gasps spread through the crowd. Hope filled many faces. Obi looked at the sky. Then he looked back at Ngozi. "You planted evil many years ago," he said quietly. Ngozi lowered her eyes. "But today you will plant something else." She nodded slowly. "Work." Obi turned toward the house. His father's house. Now the circle of life had closed. The village stayed quiet. People stood around the yard. Everyone watched Obi. The sun moved slowly above the trees. Ngozi stood near the animal shed. Her head stayed low. Chike stood beside her. Both looked tired, but something inside them had changed. The proud faces they once had were gone. Life had humbled them. Obi walked slowly across the yard. His shoes touched the same ground he knew as a boy, the same place where he once played with his father. Memories moved through his heart. He stopped near the old tree. For a moment he looked at the sky. He thought about the past, about pain, about hunger, about cold nights in the forest. Then he thought about Chief 80, the man who saved him, the man who gave him a chance. Without that help, Obi knew something. His life could have ended on the street. He turned and looked at the villagers. Many faces watched him with respect. Some people wiped tears from their eyes. Obi spoke in a calm voice. "Many years ago I left this place with nothing," he said. "I had no food, no home, no family." The villagers listened quietly. "But one kind man helped me," Obi continued. "He gave me a chance to stand again." Obi looked toward the broken farm. "That is why I will help this village," he said. Hope moved through the crowd. "Work will begin tomorrow," Obi said. "We will repair the farm. We will build new animal houses. And we will build a hospital." Excited whispers spread everywhere. Old men smiled. Women held their children close. Ngozi looked up slowly. Tears filled her eyes again. "Obi," she said softly, "I know I hurt you. I cannot change the past. But I will work hard." Obi looked at her for a long moment. Then he nodded. "Work with honesty," he said. "That is enough." Chike also stepped forward. "I will work too," he said. Obi looked at him. "Then prove it," Obi replied. The wind moved gently through the trees. Peace slowly returned to the yard. The house that once held pain now held a new future. Children began to laugh again. The village felt alive. Obi looked at the people around him. His voice became strong. "Listen carefully," he said. "Life is like a seed. What you plant will grow. If you plant evil, evil will return. But if you plant kindness, kindness will grow bigger than you ever dreamed." The villagers nodded. They understood his words. Obi took one last look at the old house. Then he smiled gently. The boy who once cried in the mud was gone. In his place stood a man of strength, a man who chose justice over revenge, and that choice changed everything. If this story touched your heart, press like and subscribe. Stay with us for more powerful stories. And remember this simple truth: kind hearts may suffer for a time, but in the end, they always win the long race.